In this GlassTrax training video, I will be going over truck routing, or what we refer to as scheduled deliveries. Now, the scheduled deliveries screen in GlassTrax is a little bit hard to find. So a lot of times people who use this screen, I will have them set up a shortcut to get there. And just as a reminder, to set up a shortcut, you just right click anywhere, hit set menu shortcuts, pick a vacant spot, and then hit set shortcut. And in this case, I will type in scheduled deliveries, which I use scheduled deliveries 3 right here. So you can see I've already got that set. And that way when you right click, it'll appear right here, or it will appear in your menu shortcuts tab right up there as well. But if you don't have that set as a shortcut, the way to access the scheduled deliveries 3 screen is by coming to the sales tab, scrolling over to the right till you get to the reports and inquiries section, going to sales order / quote reports, and then the sales order lists, and it's a drop down to scheduled deliveries 3. Now this screen has a lot of filters, which is what we like in GlassTrax. We allow you to filter quite a bit. So you have to define on how you want to run this screen. But once you save this filter, it is going to be saved throughout the system. So even if you have multiple people accessing this screen, whatever one person changes on these filters will go across the network. And it'll be saved for the next time you open this screen, or the next time somebody else opens this screen. So in this case, I have mine set to show me ship date range of the first of the year through February 21st, and I have a specific route that I'm looking at. Now the other filters on here that you may want to look into are max status. Say I don't want to see anything that's been invoiced, so I'm going to get rid of that. Or you might come over here just to the invoiced filter and say exclude if fully invoiced. Now the difference between exclude if fully invoiced and exclude is if any invoice exists at all on an order, it will be excluded, even though there may be open back order quantities on it. So most people use exclude if fully invoiced, meaning if there's a back order quantity, I still want to see it. Other people come here and say the quantities, show me the ordered quantity versus show me the non-back ordered quantity, show me the back ordered quantity, etc. The other nice feature that we've added, now if you're on an older version of GlassTrax, you might not have this filter down here at the bottom, and that is the produced status. So if you have barcode scanners in place and you are scanning by departments in GlassTrax, we can mark which departments are designated as production departments. And if you leave those as undesignated, basically you're saying, okay, this does not need to be done in order for it to be loaded on the truck. So for example, if I have a cutting department, polish department, tempered department, and then a loading department, I would check cut, polish, and tempered as my production departments. I would leave the loading department as not a production department. And when I set this filter to produced only versus not produced, produced only, it will only show me orders where they have passed through the necessary departments up through temper if applicable. I don't care about the loading department because what I'm doing here is filling the loading department, is I'm going to be doing that action here. So if I go ahead and say, all right, let's go hit display here. In this case, I only have one order. Let me make this a little bit broader. Let's go back a full year here, or change the route. Hit display. Now I've got a few orders. This yellow line means that there's a back order quantity on that order, and it default selects every order to go on the truck. You can deselect those by simply clicking, or you can right click and say exclude all or exclude the line selected, however you want to do there. Now as I right click, there are a few other options to take a look at. We have the ability to show this in Google Maps, MapQuest, Bing, copy the addresses to a clipboard and allow you to paste them into whatever routing software you may be using. We also have the ability to view the sales order or the sales order details right from this screen. So if you have a question on this back order quantity, you can say, well, let me see this here. And I click on that. It will launch the sales order detail, and you can see right at a glance what is left here, what's been on the order, and you can see these are inventory reserved. So these are the pieces that are on back order. Let me close this down and return to our scheduled deliveries 3 screen. Now the other options on that right click, you can change the route, change the stop, change the ship date, clear the back order quantities, meaning I'm going to send, I've got this ready to go, so I may have already invoiced the first portion of this order and I need to invoice and load the second one, so I'm going to go ahead and clear the back order quantity. The other options obviously here, you can look at the attachments for this particular sales order. You can also copy to clipboard, export to Excel, or this one that gets used quite a bit is this print right here. and you can reprint now shippers, invoices, sales order forms, whatever you need to do for the checked lines here. And the nice thing about this print shippers is when you preview this, you just have to generate the PDF. You don't necessarily have to print. It will load to our digital shippers app, meaning that when your drivers are out, they can use a phone or a tablet for a customer to sign with their finger, and then have that digital signature stick to the PDF and have that get loaded back into GlassTrax. Drivers are also able to notify users of back order quantities, remakes that need to happen. Instead of having to call back into the office or tell them once they get back in, they can submit that through the app automatically, and the remakes can begin to take place. So that's what these options are on the right-click menu. Down here you have a summary of the customer, the sales orders, and the different pieces of glass versus hardware, square footage, and weight, as well as total revenue. This is a screen that we do a lot of work on still to this day because a lot of people use it and a lot of people operate their trucks differently. So if you have requests or questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Just before I end this video, I would like to go over this after printing scheduled deliveries report, what I like to do. Some people like to print the pro forma invoice. Some people actually create invoices and print them as they send out this with their drivers, so that the drivers deliver the actual invoice to the customers. Now that you have to weigh that and say, do I want to do that? Meaning the benefit is that my customers get the invoice right away. Maybe they'll pay me quicker and we'll get the money in sooner than normal. But the other side of that is I now have a driver saying, this is the invoice. If anything changes, the customer may have questions about why the invoice that they have in their hand is different than the one in our system now because you had to adjust a quantity or a price or a date for the terms. So that's one thing to take into consideration as well. But as to, whatever you have checked up here will print, and then down here is the number of copies that you'd like to print as you hit this print button up here. That's our scheduled deliveries 3 screen. Like I said, it is a work in progress because we are always adding, improving, and changing this screen based on customer requests. So if you have any of those questions, any of those requests, please feel free to reach out. Our email is glasstraxtech@ksssco.com. Thank you.